From the video, it appears that there's a clear lack of concern for the individual's life, and that there was, if not contempt, there was absolute indifference.
This expert says there should be no argument. Phoenix police and MCSO left a man in a mental health crisis to die, and says his homicide case raises a lot of issues that are, quote, screaming to be examined. And that's why ABC 15 Chief Investigator Dave Biscopine is back.
In tonight's special report, you'll hear more from that expert, and you'll see how Phoenix officers and sheriff's deputies almost immediately started pointing fingers at each other after the death.
It's New Year's Day, 2021. Phoenix and MCAO officers are taking Akeem Terrell into a cell. They take him down to the ground. It's to switch out his handcuffs from police cuffs to jail cuffs. They're on him for 3 minutes, then back out of the room. Akeem lays motionless for the next 5 minutes. He would be pronounced dead at the hospital.
There are so many different aspects of this situation that beg or scream to be examined and reviewed.
This is Dr. Keith Taylor. He's a former NYPD cop, spent years overseeing jails. Now he teaches at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York. And Taylor says it should have been clear to everyone this was a life-threatening situation, especially because Akeem was put and then left in the prone position. That's the face-down position police have been warned about for 30 years.
And they kind of back out of the room like this. It's almost like they wipe their hands and there's like no further thought or concern about his health or safety. Is that how it looked to you?
It looked like a willful ignorance of the status of that individual's health. He was laying unconscious, prone, with possibly no signs of life. And they just walked out as if it was a normal interaction.
They with them. They with them, y'all.
Several things stand out to Dr. Taylor. First, Akeem was clearly in a mental health crisis. That leads to the second thing, the decision to immediately take him to the ground and pile on to change out some handcuffs.
The consequences of having it done right then and there, as opposed to a better time and date to arrange to have the handcuffs returned. Clearly it had lethal consequences.
But most of all, it was the lack of concern for Akeem's life.
One of the things that, really his family and, their attorneys will say is that, they left him to die. Do you think it's hard to argue against that?
It's hard to argue that they did not leave him to die.
One death, 2 agencies, and in the hours that followed, the finger-pointing began.
He was never under MCSO custody. Okay.
Even though Akeem was in their cell, an MCSO sergeant claims he wasn't their responsibility yet. Why? Because the booking process wasn't completed.
To your knowledge, he was still a prisoner of Phoenix PD?
Yeah, well, not to my knowledge, that's just a fact.
That's just a fact, okay.
Yes. That raises a big red flag to Dr. Taylor and highlights a gap in responsibility.
That no one was assigned to make sure that he's still alive, they still have the pulse, may speak of this idea that he was everyone's responsibility and no one's responsibility.
There's another important point to all of this. Both MCSO and Phoenix are in trouble. The sheriff's office is in contempt of court for failing to properly conduct internal investigations. And Phoenix PD, they're under a Department of Justice pattern or practice investigation.
Do you think this is the kind of case that raises problems for them in those kind of external investigations? Is this going to hurt Phoenix as they try to, avoid a consent decree?
I think it will hurt Phoenix as they try to avoid a consent decree. It may be indicative that they are incapable of policing themselves.
I'm investigator Dave Biscopine, ABC 15, Arizona.